Welcome everyone here today, but before that we get started, I want to recognize the chairperson of the Education Committee, which is Councilman Bettany.
Oh, thank you very much. I mean, this is an initiative of Vice Chair Sandra Moore, and I couldn't be happier than to be able to be part of this, so I appreciate you all being here. The people that are watching on Channel 3, I know many do, though they are in for a treat, so thank you very much.
Thank you. This is an informal setting. You can get up at any time to get some, refreshments or get some more coffee, get something to drink, but it's just informal. So we're all here to sit around and just talk to one another. So I'm going to hand it off to Jason Rogers, who is the Vice President of Administration and University Council here at Belmont University. Dr. Rogers.
Thank you, Council Lady Moore. I appreciate the opportunity to host this event here, and welcome to Belmont University. We're pleased that all of you all are here and looking forward to the dialogue that we're going to have. As Council Lady Moore indicated, I'm serving as Vice President for Administration and University Council, and in that role I work with our Office of Community and Government Relations, and Joyce Searcy works with me in that office, and she must have stepped out, but I know many of you know Joyce, and I appreciate her efforts to help us get organized here, as well as those of Rosie Hayes and the council staff, and Council Lady Moore and Councilman Bettany. Council Lady Berkeley Allen is also present. She is the council lady for the district that Belmont University is in, and we're glad to have her here.
And Councilman...
I'm sorry?
Claiborne.
Okay, Councilman Claiborne, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Apologize for overlooking you. The Irish playwright George Bernard Shaw said the single biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it has taken place. So our primary purpose here this evening is to ensure that communication between key stakeholders in our public education system, elected legislative officials, school board members, school administrators, and the business community is actually taking place. Specifically, we're going to focus on how members of this body, represented by the council members who are here, can better serve their constituents and execute the duties of their offices by being as knowledgeable as they can possibly be about the goals, strategies, and policies of MNPS leadership, board members, and the Chamber of Commerce. This is especially important in these days as political and economic pressures mount on our public school system. In a moment, we're going to hear brief presentations from Dr. Jesse Register, our Director of Schools, as well as his senior staff, and school board representatives, including our Chairwoman, Cheryl Mays. And then we'll also hear from Stephanie Coleman, who's Vice President for Policy from the Nashville Chamber, and Representative Harold Love, who's scheduled to attend, will be making a few remarks as well after he arrives. And following their presentations, we'll have an opportunity for open dialogue, question and answer, and that sort of thing. So I'll invite each person who is speaking to introduce the individuals who are here with them before they begin, and I believe we're beginning with our Chairwoman, Cheryl Mays, from the Metro School Board. So welcome, and we're anxious to hear from you.
Thank you. My name is Cheryl Mays. I am, as you said, the chair for the Metropolitan Public Schools Board of Education. And we also have with us Anna Shepard, our vice chair, Joanne Brannon, and Joe Spearing, our other board members. And I thank them very much for coming out in this really lovely weather here today. Just wanted to offer a quick statement. I don't have anything prepared, so this is completely off the cuff. We are in the process of attempting to build more relationships with our other not constituents, but just other political allies as well. One of the things that we can do and that we strive to and continue to do is to work with Metro Council members on understanding what the programs currently are that we have in our school, how important they are to our students. One thing that I'll say is we have the luxury of being a one-issue politicians, whereas council members have to run an entire city. So it's very difficult sometimes to understand when you're not running an entire city how some of our elected officials don't understand everything that's going on. The way that we combat that is to continue to have you come and visit with us, whether it's school board meetings, whether it's coming to community meetings, or whether it's coming to our school events, to understand and speak directly to not just school board members, but to parents and students and teachers, but especially the students, to get a better understanding of how the programs that are currently in our schools are working for them. I will tell you from personal experience, I'm very proud of our academies programs that we have in our high schools, the small learning communities. They are probably one of the biggest game changers for our students. And I think Mr. Still will tell you, he can give you some statistics, but from personal experience, I know that our students are more engaged in what's going on in their schools, because not only are they learning in the classroom, but they're also learning in real world. And that makes a huge difference. And it keeps them engaged and keeps them wanting to come. From what I understand, and I don't have the complete statistical data, the suspensions are down, attendance is up, as well as academic performance. And that says a lot about some of these programs. So what I would say, and what I'm sure my colleagues would say, is that in order for us to have a much better relationship, collaborate much better, is we continue to invite you and come on out anytime you want to a school board meeting. If we have to set up a special work session just to talk about the things that we need to understand about what your roles are and what our roles are, then we're definitely open to doing that. But I think continuing that dialogue is going to be extremely important going forward for every single student that we have. And I'll just, give a couple of seconds if any of my colleagues want to say anything. Okay, I think I've done enough.
Good. Dr. Register.
Thank you very much. And I certainly want to thank the chair and the vice chair of the Education Committee and members of the Metro Council for being here today to enter into this dialogue. I really appreciate the opportunity to do this and to share. And I know one of the questions that's been raised most recently is the recent restructuring of the central office that we've done. And I thought, and so I brought the horses so you can hear from their mouths. We actually announced a major restructuring and implemented in February. So we're brand new, just getting started. And today was a meeting day for us. One day a month we have an administrative staff meeting, and it started out, so all of the people here have been in meetings since 7:30 this morning, and that's cluster meetings and then a general staff meeting at the Martin Center, about 200 people, all principals, all central office staff, everybody else, more than 200 I guess, really, and then cluster meetings this afternoon, or tier level meetings this afternoon, elementary principals, middle school principals, high school principals, and I was so pleased today with how I see this restructuring actually manifesting itself now in the school system to do things differently. And I felt like just starting over with what we had planned for an agenda today, because it's really coming, it's really bearing fruit right now already. And our goal is to do a couple of things with this, is to become much more, to create a much more unified vision for our school system, a K-12 vision, if you will. And to do a couple of other things with our school-based administrators, our principals, to give principals greater autonomy, greater authority, and to develop them as real leaders in our communities. They're the experts. And today was a good day when we really began seeing a lot of that work. So I want to introduce the people that I brought today to you, and let them each say a word or two, if I may. I'll start with Jay Steele. Jay's been here for 3 years now. 3 years. Jay's Chief Academic Officer. He was Associate Superintendent for High Schools, and Jay has brought our high school program to the place where we're state of the art in the country. Much quicker. I knew you would when we recruited him, but much quicker than I thought we would. I'm very proud of what's going on in our high schools. And so we've asked Jay, and one of our areas of concern was that there was, we had a lot of stuff going on in elementary schools. We've got 75 elementary schools, I believe. We had a lot of stuff going on in our middle schools, a lot of stuff going on in our high schools, but it wasn't unified. And this needs to be a K-12 effort. And so Jay's chief academic officer and is in charge of that K-12 academic program in our school system now, and we're really beginning to see some good stuff there. I also want to introduce Susan Thompson. Some of you might not have met Susan. Susan's been with us not quite a year now. July 1 will be a year. Susan's from the Houston area in Texas, and put in a first career, if you will, in Texas, working in leadership development and professional development and human capital development, if you will. And Susan is our Chief Human Capital Development Officer, and today showed why we've gone through a major restructuring from human resources to human capital development, talent development, if you will, for our about 10,000 employees. Tony Majors is our Chief Support Services Officer. Tony's been around for a while. I used to call Tony the best high school principal in the state of Tennessee, and he was. And one of the reasons why we've gone through a restructuring is sometimes you ought not to take the best people out of the hardest jobs. Tony did terrific work at Glencliff High School, but now he's doing something. He's taking it to scale. One of the things that Tony did so well at Glencliff High School was engage a community that was very diverse, that spoke many languages from all over the world, and we're taking that to scale now in the district in working with community engagement. Chris Henson's our Chief Financial Officer and continues to do that work and is highly regarded across this state and across the Southeast. He is the most effective Chief Financial Officer in the state of Tennessee without question. And Chief Operating Officer Fred Carr. Fred, who got an award today from the principals as Fred, what was the title? I shouldn't ask you that. Who knows the title besides Fred? What award did he get from the principals today? The biggest helper, the greatest assistance, if you will, to the principals, and a very coveted award. I've never received that one. So we've got Fred here. We've got some other folks here that are very important to our work. Meredith Libby, who's assistant to the Director for Communications. Hank Clay, who is Legislative Liaison, Governmental Relations Liaison. We have John Williams, who's Executive Director of Technical and Information Services, because we thought there might be a number of questions about that. But these folks are the senior group, the senior leaders, if you will, of what we're trying to do in our school system. I want to turn it over to Jay for a minute and let Jay give you a little bit about where we're heading with academics in the school system, followed by Susan and then Tony.
You all have a packet? Yes. And on the second page of the page that I'm going to refer to, I'm going to go pretty quickly. This is Leadership and Learning, which is normally our Curriculum and Instruction Department, but Dr. Register thought it was more than Curriculum and Instruction, it is Leadership and Learning. So there are three core philosophies or three areas that I'm going to focus on. Leadership, which is at the top, transforming teaching and learning, and then redesigning our current structures. And this is what the work and how the budget reflects the work that we're doing. As Dr. Register said, it's very important, it's part of our core philosophy that we want the leadership to be school-based. We feel that the experts are the people in the classroom, the experts are the people that are running the schools. So the first thing is we are developing a network of lead principals that are school-based that will make the decisions for the district at the school level. There are 9 principals currently in that network this year, and that network is set to possibly double to 18, between 15 and 18 next year. And then over the next 3 years, it will expand into middle and to elementary, where all 3 tiers are completely run by school-based leaders with just 6 leaders at the district that will manage those networks. We're also doing the same thing with our curriculum and instruction. Traditionally, you have curriculum coordinators in the central office. Those 6 people have been notified that their jobs would no longer be after June 30th. And we're going to a network of instructional coaches that we already have in place in our district, which are the master teachers. Those network of about 200 coaches, we're going to select between 12 and 16 of the best ones that represent numeracy and literacy at all 3 tiers, elementary, middle, and high, that will be employed for a longer period of time, that will make all decisions on professional development, curriculum, textbooks, and strategies that are closest to the school, informing us on the direction we need to go. That's a major shift in leadership in our district.
You guys are school-based?
School-based, all school-based. And that was announced to the principals this morning, and we're beginning that selection process. So we are moving to school autonomy, where a set of principals have earned autonomy through their student achievement that will make decisions on staffing and resource allocation in their schools. We hope to expand that model as more and more principals raise their student achievement. They will earn that autonomy, and also the lead principals will have that autonomy. The second area is transforming teaching and learning. As you all know, we're going through Common Core adoption. We've been focusing on that for the last 2.5 years, preparing our teachers for that, with implementation this fall. And I do have a handout on Common Core that I can share a little bit later. But in the budget, you will notice there's a new Office of Advanced Academics that we've created. That's to focus on our gifted education, the expansion of International Baccalaureate, a new program out of the University of Cambridge called the Advanced International Certificate of Education, college dual enrollment, and high school credits in middle school. That department will be a standalone department that's going to foster the development of more of these opportunities for kids, because we expect every kid to be college and career ready. Establishing a STEM office. We know that science, technology, engineering, math are shortages in this country, and we want to focus more students. Currently, every high school has a STEM program in it. We want to expand that, and we have a K-12 continuum in the Stratford cluster that begins at Hattie Cotton Elementary with STEM education, and within 2 years, Hattie Cotton has gone from bottom 5% to top 5% with this new philosophy and pedagogy of STEM. The Music Makes Us is a program from the mayor that is expanding both traditional and non-traditional music programs in our district, from mariachi to world percussion, hip-hop, record label, country offerings, and rock. But we are expanding those programs in line with the Music City Music Council. Alternative learning. We're having great success with our academies at Old Cockrell, Hickory Hollow, Opry Mills, and we are expanding that into the middle schools at this point through the Cone School, and redesigning what our alternative centers look like. So that will be a new position to manage what that growth looks like and manage what these new structures look like to catch those kids who are falling through the cracks. Common Core is big. It's going to take student engagement much, much deeper. We have looked at all the research, and we have decided that project-based learning is the shift we want to happen in teaching and learning in this district. And we've hired the Buck Institute, which is the world leader in project-based learning, working with Singapore, Los Angeles, and Nashville are the 3 largest contracts they have. And they're going to make Nashville a model site for project-based learning. That teaches teachers how to go deeper with Common Core, and you can see the 8 components there. And then the next one is the redesigning our structures. The high schools, as Ms. May said, have been completely redesigned. They are not the traditional high schools they used to be. As a result of that, within 2 years, every high school in this district came off the bottom performing list. We have no high schools on the bottom performing list. So Dr. Register has assigned me to redesign middle schools. We began that process today with all the middle school principals and gave them what we, in a discussion, where we want to go with middle schools and what those non-negotiables are and what that future is going to look like. And it's a collaborative process. It's going to focus on advanced academics, arts, and student engagement. We want every student in the middle school level to have all of those opportunities to belong and be engaged in something and focus on the arts and academics. And then, as Dr. Register said, the last area he's challenged me with is there are 13 key areas, and they're all listed here, that we're going to focus on K-12 alignment. K-12 literacy, numeracy, exceptional education, and you can read the list there. But there are 13 plans in the works now that are 3-year action plans developed in a SMART format that have to be completed by June 1st. And then the month of June, the key messages will be pulled out of those 13 plans to develop the whole focus for K-12 curriculum and instruction for this district.
Thanks,
That's
Jay.
best.
Moving on. Susan, talk about human capital a minute.
Okay, I'll be very quick. The second page after there is, I gave you an informational piece about the Human Capital Division. And there are 3 large components there, but the one thing I wanted to be sure that I'm not sure everybody understands the scope of what our division is, exactly how many people we're talking about when we talk about human capital. We went from a human resources department, which is your traditional human resources, and we expanded that to include the entire piece on talent and really focusing on finding the best talent. So we have broadened the scope of human resources to include human capital, and you'll see that there. With the reorganization, it's really helped us to get much closer, much more focused and aligned. Our number one goal is to put the absolute best educator in those campuses in front of those children, and that's what drives all of our work, which drives all of us here and working together. So you can see here, we're looking at that whole culture of being focused on quality and growth. We've expanded our recruitment strategies and our acquisition. I mean, we're looking at the entire life cycle of an employee. How are we attracting the very best to Nashville and to Nashville Public Schools? And once they get here, then how are we helping us support them all along the way? So it's in the entire piece. We're also looking at how our systems run and how efficient we can get there so we can help support everybody in the district. There's an awful lot going on. I tried to put it in here, but I think the biggest key piece is that we're really bringing in all of those functions under a human capital umbrella and really focusing on talent.
You know, I want to thank you for something before we leave human capital. Last year, you agreed to let us raise teacher pay. And we significantly raised beginning teacher pay to $40,000 a year. We have a new teacher fair this next Saturday, and we have 600 terrific candidates for employment in MNPS coming to that teacher fair. We use the New Teacher Project as one non-traditional means for gaining teachers. We said to the New Teacher Project, you're sending us great teachers, but you're not sending us diverse teachers. The diversity is significantly different this year from what we're getting from New Teacher Project. And I want to thank y'all for having faith in us here. And I think as we go forward, this is the first year, you know, it was a rumor last year, and we benefited from it last year as a rumor. This year it's a reality. And as our human capital people are saying, we've got a recruitment class that is outstanding. We've never had one like this. Had to add that commercial.
Thank you. And the only other thing I would add to that, with the Teach for America and the New Teacher Project, the Teaching Fellow, Nashville Teaching Fellows, we're also extending all our partnerships with our universities and having conversations with them so that we're working on all ends to make sure we get the absolute best in front of our students.
Tony Majors.
Well, the Department of Support Services, with the restructuring, I want to start with that on the third or fourth page of your packet. We're really focused on the Department of Support Services. I want to start off really with what you've heard Dr. Register, Susan, and Jay all say. We have now aligned common functions under a central umbrella where they belong. So everything that touches instruction falls under leadership and learning. Support Services really focuses on the support function within the district. From the support services, or when we started the restructuring process, we really looked at which departments provide support services in our school district that need to be aligned with other departments under the support services umbrella. So since the restructuring took place, we have added coordinated school health, which partners with student health, which is already in the support services department, and is also a function of Community Achieves, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Athletics has also moved to support services because through the athletic program, we also provide security, and school security is already under support services. And then the last was we did add a 504 specialist to work in conjunction with student health, because 504, most people feel that that's an exceptional ed program for students with IEPs, and it's not. It's for students that have any type of temporary or permanent disability that requires some degree of services. So that often functions under a health umbrella. So we added a coordinator to really monitor to make sure we're implementing those plans effectively. and also campus supervisors. Campus supervisors represent 107 employees that we have working in our middle schools and high schools to provide support to principals to ensure safe campuses. We have moved them under the school security umbrella so that they receive much of the same training that our school security officers receive, as well as increase their responsibilities. They've all been through severe weather spotting training, as well as now they manage our AEDs and life-saving equipment within our schools. So it's just some of the things that allowed us to be much stronger in our coordination and how we monitor the services that we're providing. And as at this point, we have 14 departments that are under the student services umbrella, but they are all focused around what we call cluster support. And cluster support is most easily defined as wraparound services. What are the non-instructional needs of our students and families? And that's really what our department focuses on, how to address those needs and deliver services as quickly as possible. The cluster support model is really focused around 5 key personnel. It's a clerk, 3 to 4 social workers, a FASA, which is basically an attendance worker, which works directly with our juvenile courts, and our family involvement specialists. They all work within a geographic cluster, a K-12 feeder pattern, elementary to high school. They work directly with those principals, and now they serve as a resource to our network lead principals as well. What we want principals to learn to do is to utilize the support and interventions process to better leverage the services that those staff members can provide to implement and deliver services quickly and effectively and make the appropriate referrals to outside agencies. Because our philosophy is very simple. When you have so many socio-emotional factors influencing our children and their families, it's a barrier often for them to be successful in an instructional setting. It's our responsibility to meet those needs, provide the appropriate services so that students can show up prepared for class and go on to achieve at the highest levels possible. And that's beyond just students. We want to work with families. We want to work with communities as well. One of the things that Jay mentioned, the Common Core rollout. We can train students and teachers and everyone about Common Core, but we also have to train our parents and get them to understand what Common Core means. How does Common Core impact the education of their children? Our staff with our family involvement specialists are responsible for conducting those types of trainings. So that's just one example of how support services support leadership and learning. And last is Community Achieves. A year and a half ago, we presented to Dr. Register the opportunity to add Community Achieves as part of his transformational leadership structure. Community Achieves is really focused on coordinating and aligning support services at a systemic level district-wide, so that nonprofits and other agencies that want to work within our schools go through the Community Achieves framework, in which has 4 strategic target areas: college and career readiness, parental engagement, social services, and health and wellness. We have many initiatives already in place in our school district, such as bringing Justice for All, Parent University. Those are the types of programs we're going to continue to offer, but we're also going to expand. Community Achieves in a nutshell, we just had our launch in February, so it's now official, but we do hope to continue to, we will be working on continuing to broaden the model. We have 19 schools that have signed on to become full-service community schools in our first cohort group, and we've also joined Joyce Epstein, who is a national expert on parent and community involvement. We have joined her national network, as well as we are being supported by Ready by 21, as well as the National Coalition of Community Schools in our work. Those are the primary organizations that we've used to develop our model.
You know, Tony does win the prize for being able to say the most, the quickest. So thanks.
And my voice was cracking because I was trying to go too fast.
Fred is Chief Academic Officer. Fred Carr's Chief Operating Officer. I'm sorry, Fred. And I'll turn it over for a quick word from Fred and Chris. They've been around for a while. I asked these first 3 to go first, give you a little expanded view, but Fred is in charge of some very important work, and we want to give him a chance to highlight what's going on.
And my division has multiple support areas, including transportation, food service, but our major academic support initiatives are in the area of technology and data. And we have two different strands of support in that area. One is learning powered through technology, and the other one is data support, which supports learning and teaching and making decisions about teaching and learning. So we provide data to the rest of the divisions to guide their decision-making in how they roll out changes and decisions. So in the learning powered by technology area, a couple of key things that we have done is adopted national standards. There's the ISTE, which is the International Society for Technology and Education. We have adopted their education standards as well as the national ed tech standards as our district standards for the use of technology in instruction. And the rollout of the Common Core, as Jay mentioned, Common Core instruction is very technology intensive, both in the delivery of instruction and in the assessment of instruction. By 2014 school year, our major assessments, our TCAP, our end of course tests, are all going to be online. They're all going to be digital tests rather than pencil and paper tests. And to support that testing, more importantly, to support the delivery of instruction in the classroom, we're having to, at a very fast pace, upgrade our school district's infrastructure, the network, the ability to carry large amounts of data over our network, and then providing student use technology for students to be able to use in both learning and in the assessment of that learning. This is a very capital funding intensive project, and the deadline has been set by basically our participation in Race to the Top funding. It had some deadlines come with it about the integration of Common Core standards. And the other things that we're working on that support this learning powered by technology has to do with an initiative that you'll hear more about across our community very soon, and it's called Anytime Access for All. So with the different kind of delivery model for instruction, we're looking at what's called blended learning and flipped learning, and it's where students access learning opportunities through technology that's available after school hours. And one of the key components, Anytime Access for All, is to address the 47% of our students that do not have internet access in their homes. And that is a community project that you will hear more about that is being initiated through a community group led by Laura Hansen of the school district. And we're working with the Promise Neighborhoods to try to roll that out. And again, you'll hear more about that through the council, both through education and through other local initiatives that are going to support this effort. So our 47% of kids that don't have internet access, that don't have access to devices when they leave school, are a key focus for us to bring them into the digital age. And that's our focus.
Thanks, Fred.
Dr. Register?
Yes.
I heard the word Common Core a couple of times.
Right.
And I don't know that it was explained just for the people who are watching it, if there could be a brief description of that.
You me?
Yes.
Okay, sure.
And Ms. Spearing also wants to participate in that conversation. Our board members have been very actively involved.
Sorry if I jumped.
Yeah, that's okay.
I've given you, what's coming to you is just a one-pager. I asked someone in my office to kind of give what is Common Core and what are the instructional shifts that Common Core will be requiring in our district. Pass some more now. It's a set of clear standards for math and English at this point. It will be even going into science, but not at this time. It's just math and English language arts. It is a set of rigorous benchmarks that are international benchmarks, and they've been set by countries whose students currently outperform American students on international assessments. That's how they were developed. It's a clear, consistent understanding of what students are expected to learn, so teachers and parents know what they need to do to help them. They're robust and relevant to the real world, reflecting the knowledge and skills that our young people need for college and careers. 45 states have adopted. The ones Texas, Alaska, Virginia, Nebraska will not adopt them at this point. Skipping down to the bottom, in English language arts, it's more nonfiction. Doesn't mean we're not going to do fiction, but a greater emphasis on the assessment of nonfiction works. A focus on evidence. When kids are looking, they will be able to cite the evidence that they're reading. It's a staircase of text complexity, and what I mean by that is the standards are going to be the same K through 12. If you look at a ninth grade standard, it's the same as a fifth grade standards. But what that means is, as a district, when we are unpacking those standards and deconstructing them, we have to build in the specificity and the complex testing or test complexity inside those standards. So, for example, in the math, they're all the same. They're not separated by Algebra 1, Algebra 2, or geometry. They're all the same standards. So as a school district, we have to go in with our teachers and select which standards fit in Algebra 1, which standards fit in Algebra 2. So it gives you a breakdown in math and language arts what the focus is going to be on with Common Core. They go much deeper. They're not as broad, but they go much deeper. And the students have to go to the top level of Bloom's taxonomy, which is be able to create. They have to be able to apply and create with the Common Core standards. And that's why we've gone into project-based learning, because project-based learning allows kids to demonstrate their mastery by creating and applying. So it's a little deeper.
Great, thank you. I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you for calling this meeting, and it's wonderful to have an opportunity to share. And I've been on the board just almost a year now. I was thinking this time last year I was running for office, so we've learned a lot in a short amount of time. I'm very impressed with Common Core. It was the person who is the architect of Common Core is David Coleman, and he developed it in 2009, and as Jay said, 45 states have adopted it. It's inextricably linked to the state standards, and that's so important. We have had a different curriculum in elementary school, a separate curriculum in middle school, and another third curriculum in high school. This brings it all together. Last year, we are really ahead of most other counties in the state in our implementation. Last year, we did the kindergarten through second, I think, Jay, and this year, K through 8 with some high schools, and next year, K through 8 with most high schools, all high schools, and then the expectation is it will be fully implemented in 2014, 2015. The Parcc Assessments go along with this, and I think our challenge is going to be not to let the assessment drive the instruction, but to let the curriculum and the standards drive the instruction. I think that's where we have to be careful. We have a new reading textbook that helps tie the standards with Common Core, and we are embarking on helping our high school teachers and middle school teachers to actually teach reading through the content area, and that's very, very exciting because that's something they really haven't been exposed to as much as this will bring into focus. Let's see if I have anything else here. The two states that I understand have not adopted this is Alabama and Utah. It's not that they haven't adopted Common Core, they are not going along with the assessments. So that's interesting, and we'll be watching that to see what they come up with. One of their concerns is the cost of the adoption. Another is how the teachers will be trained and the issues of the online assessment. And the online assessments, I think that's another challenge because all the students will take the assessments online, and we're talking about first graders. So are we actually assessing what the knowledge the students have, or are we assessing at that grade level the students' ability to work the computer and their computer skills? So those are things we're thinking about. We know their challenges, and we're glad to have the opportunity to discuss this with you guys today. Thank you.
Did that help?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, you're quite welcome. I have to simplify some of the talk about Common Core. You know, it's very complex, and I think there's an example that I use because I'm not a good math person, but it's Common Core is the difference between memorizing a formula and understanding how it works. And I think, and that is digging very deeply into understanding. And I think that really captures the essence of it. I'm going to turn it over to Chris. You'll be hearing Chris a lot very soon. So he's last today, but he'll be first in another week or two to talk about budget and finance. Chris, Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you. And as I told the principals during the principals meeting this morning, we are right in the midst of budget development and approval. Actually, the process begins in December for us internally. We begin our discussions in December, and we brought the first draft of the budget to the Board of Education exactly a month ago, back on March the 4th. We've had a series of Budget and Finance Committee meetings. We had a public hearing on the budget Tuesday evening. And we will have another Budget and Finance Committee meeting on April the 9th, this coming Tuesday, where the board will approve a budget to be sent to the mayor. We have our budget hearing with the mayor on Friday, April 12th at 9 o'clock. And then, of course, he will put together his budget proposal to you, to the council, and present that to you. My understanding is on April the 30th. So I know that, as Dr. Register said, you'll be hearing from us more on this topic. I believe we've got our budget hearing scheduled with the council now for May the 30th at 6 p.m. So you'll be hearing more from us when we come before you on the budget hearing with the council. I did want to go ahead and just give you a little bit of information about it. You probably have kept up with it a little bit. Of course, all of our budget documents have been included on our website since March the 4th, since they were presented to the Board of Education. We are requesting approximately a $44 million increase, which is about a 6% increase. And that increase is made up of basically 5 different areas. The first, and as I always, when I start our budget discussions with you and with the board, is a reminder regarding how labor-intensive education is. Over 80% of the operating budget for the school district is made up of salaries and benefits, or labor. And when you have such a high labor concentration, then typically you're going to have some fairly significant increases year after year for just recurring costs. Particularly as they relate to salary increases and benefit increases, and those total somewhere in the neighborhood of about $20 million for us. We also have general inflation, our utilities, our fuel, some of the other costs that we're going to incur that will increase going from one year to the next. A lot of media attention has been given to the charter schools and the approval and the opening of 5 new charter schools next year, plus the growth in existing charter schools that will be adding a grade next year. A number of our existing charter schools will be adding a grade. And that's about a $15 million transfer out of our operating budget over to the charter schools, additional for this coming year is the estimate, with a total transfer out of about $40 million from our operating budget to the charter schools. We also are continuing to grow in student enrollment. A lot of people don't realize that we are one of the very few urban school districts that continues to actually grow in student enrollment. We're projecting growth of approximately 1,800 students, new students next year, which require additional school staffing, teachers, etc., resources at the school level. And we're also expanding some programs. Some of the programs are program expansions. Some of the increases are relating to expiring federal grant funding. Race to the Top grant funding ends after next year, and so we have been engaged in a process of transitioning and phasing some of those costs that we truly believe are valuable, that we consider high-yield strategies, from federal funding over to our local operating budget. And those would be things such as our Teach for America contract, our new teacher project, Nashville Teaching Fellows contract, some of our staff in our data warehouse, our English as a Second Language endorsement program that we have. We have several of those kinds of things that have been funded through federal grant funds that those grant funds will be expiring, and so we are looking to transfer those and transition those over to the local operating budget to sustain them. Plus, we do have some program expansions. The Mayor's Music Makes Us initiative that we are partners in. That is something where we're adding additional music teachers for all of our schools in relation to some of the information that Mr. Steele just shared with you about traditional and non-traditional music offerings. And also, as he mentioned as well, we're expanding the advanced academics area. We are adding additional teachers for our gifted and talented program. We've established a new office of advanced academics. We're expanding the international baccalaureate program. So all of those things together make up our additional request that, again, the board will approve this coming Tuesday, and we will be submitting to the mayor. So with that, knowing that we will be back in front of you again at the end of next month, I'll stop there.
Let me ask you a question for the reader and audience that you said on the 9th you all have your school board meeting. Is that open for public comment or just for the board to approve the budget at that time?
The public hearing for comment on the budget was April the 2nd, this past Tuesday evening at 5 o'clock. And so we did have several that did make public comment at that meeting. Okay. But that was the purpose for the April 2nd.
And on the 30th, you said what date? What is that? On May 30th? No, April 30th, I'm sorry.
No, we have scheduled May 30th, I believe, as the budget hearing with the Metro Council.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So I think, Fred,
just quick comment. Chris was on budget. I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank the council members present for including our textbooks in your Tuesday night vote. That's a critical instructional item for us to get those literature books in and get them processed to have them ready for the students when we start next fall. And we appreciate your support on that.
I think we've probably run over, and so I think I'll leave the communications people off. I want to introduce Meredith, who is assistant for, don't leave her off. We're running over on time. Shall we go just a little bit longer? Meredith for a word. And also, and I know one of the questions that you have is, how can we improve communications between Metro Council and the school system? And we've actually shifted responsibilities. We've asked Hank Clay to become our governmental relations liaison, and Hank's been working full-time at it. He's down here. You have, his time's been split between the legislature and council and consumed with the legislature the last few weeks, but we're glad to have Hank on. And I want to turn it over to Meredith for a quick word.
Well, and one of the communications lessons that we have is be brief. So I will. I think we tend to focus, over the past handful of years, we've made a lot of changes in our communications processes and approaches, using more and more social media, for example, changing our approach to websites. We've seen community feedback about the importance of having up-to-date school websites. That is a challenge for us with so many schools, about, depending on how you count them, about 150. And we have 2 people, and so one of the things you'll see in our budget is a request for us to pay stipends to individuals in every school so that they can be more on top of their own websites. But we're also looking at new ways, and we've had a lot of feedback from the community on this, that in our department, we try to do as much as we can with, a ball of twine and a piece of construction paper and free tools. But we've had a lot of feedback from the community about how we need to kind of take it to the next step. We are hesitant always to add to the budget because I think, like everybody else in Nashville, if there is a choice between putting money into kind of infrastructure or putting it into a classroom, we always vote for the classroom. I think we maybe have reached the limits, though, based on the feedback we're getting from the community, and we are going to start to be making more of an investment in some disciplined, high-level communications. And you'll see it, for example, we changed our school options process dramatically this year, did a lot to promote it, to help families understand what their choices were when it came to schools. We asked parents to rank their choices, and at last time we looked, we found that most of our families, I think it was about 3/4 or more of our families, had their students admitted to one of their top 3 choices. So some good feedback on that. We're looking to improve it next year. We're hoping to, well, I'll take my own advice and stop there.
Hank, quick word.
Yes, I am in my dream job, and I love getting to work with you guys. And when I think about why it's my dream job, it's because I really hope that what I'm doing, what we all are doing, has a direct impact on improving student achievement. We are only here for the mission of benefiting our students in Nashville, helping to make Nashville a better city. And so through that, I get to work with the state legislature, with Representative Love and the Education Committee in the House and Senate, with the Governor's Office, the State Department, and then you guys. And one of the things that I like best about working with the council is that you know your communities so well. And so we really want to come to you all to hear what parents, what kids are telling you. We want to learn from that, dive into your expertise as former teachers, and hear more about what we can do to make, as Dr. Register says, all great schools.
Thank you. It's a lot of great information, and I think it's helping us get a bigger picture of the diversity of activity and all the energy that's pouring into these initiatives. We've been joined by Councilman Jerry Maynard and Councilman Josh Stites, both members of the Education Committee, so thank you all for being here. And also Representative Harold Love, and I'll turn it over to him for a few comments and reflections on education from his perspective at the state, and then following his comments, we'll hear from Stephanie Coleman from the Chamber.
Thank you. Thank Councilor Moore for the invitation. Bring also greetings to Dr. Register and Councilor Mays and the members of the school board. The question was posed to me, what are my goals? And I jotted down a few things. And I campaigned on the premise of being an advocate for those who lived in, worked in, and were educated in my district. And I recall a conversation with Dr. Register when I was running, and I said, I'm going to be your legislator if things work out. He said, I don't live in your district. I said, but you'll work in my district. Because MNPS is actually in my district. Bransford Avenue is in my district. And so I campaigned on the premise of creating a welcoming workplace, and that includes the teachers and also the board members. And I was blessed to run across a piece of literature from 1966 where my father was a Metro Council member and had a dilemma on his hands. Metro had merged with the city of Nashville, and one half of his district already had sewers. The other half had septic tanks. And there was a vote to increase the water rates of those who had sewers in order to give those who had septic tanks sewers. So half your district is split. If you tax one half of it, you help the other half. But if you don't tax one half, you hurt the other half. How do you weigh out when you have constituents in your district and one action may hurt one group but help another? How do you deal with those issues? And so for me, I've had to weigh out those issues in this legislative session. How do I advocate for students and for teachers and for employees at MNPS, how do I deal with that? And so for me, I've had to walk a thin line. Hank has watched me walk that line as much as I can. And sometimes you vote for some things in an effort to get something else done, and I don't mind talking about it. In the Education Subcommittee, I voted for a voucher bill. I knew the vote was going to go through, but I also knew that in that original voucher bill, there was no provision that would allow for the money to follow the child back to the public school if the child left the private school. And so I knew that maybe voting for the voucher bill would allow me to have a conversation about getting an amendment on the bill. And it did happen. I got the amendment on there, and I do think it was only because I gave some support to the bill in subcommittee that I was able to be in a room to have a conversation about getting a provision on the bill that said if that child leaves at a private school, the money follows that child back to the public school. Those things are important because when you're trying to negotiate in a continuing situation, you must know what the real issues are. And so, of course, now the voucher bill is going away for a while, but that's just an example of how to advocate for your constituents. For me, also on the Education Subcommittee, there are issues that range beyond K through 12 that affect K through 12. For example, there was a bill that came through our subcommittee last week that would have disallowed any teacher or principal or superintendent to specifically employ someone based on race or gender. So if you had a position at a school that called for a female basketball coach, you would not be able to hire a female because you can't specifically look for a female to coach the female basketball team. So we had to have conversations about why that wasn't right, and I was able to voice my opinion about the fact that sometimes you may want to recruit specifically African-American male teachers to go into some schools and help these African-American male students have a better understanding of why they should do certain things. So that bill went away. That's advocacy. There's also conversations that I think affect K through 12 when we talk about even fee waivers for state employees' children. You may have a student that wants to go into teaching, but the fee waiver may be the only thing that allows them to go through school and graduate. And so those are the wide-ranging situations that we deal with in education. It's not just K through 12, it's K through 12 and higher ed. And I think one last thing that I could deal with was the effect of how proprietary schools may want their degrees to be listed as regular 4 or 2 institutions now have theirs just as a diploma or degree, bachelor in business administration. One may not think that is of an effect, but what if you have a person graduating from proprietary school and gets their degree to say that they have a bachelor's in education, and they didn't take the same curriculum that was required at a 4-year institution. So now they present this documentation to MNPS to get hired. How do you turn them down when they have a degree in education? So those are issues I think we don't sometimes are aware of, that it's not just in K through 12, but it's a wide range of education issues that we're having to deal with and find the best way to negotiate. And I guess also as my non-legislative task, I try my best to support the schools in my district and made a promise to the principal of Parcc that I would forego buying suits for about a month and pay for the soccer team uniforms. Pleased to deliver a check to her, I think about 3 weeks ago. And so the soccer team in Parcc can now have some uniforms. I try my best to live out my promise of advocacy. And let me say, Dr. Rachel made a good choice in Hank because he has helped us immensely down there. We worked on a good piece of legislation that I think would benefit some local school districts. It's about the charter school vacant property utilization. And I don't mind saying that we were at the point where it probably would have passed out of committee, it passed out of subcommittee, and it put in the hands of the LEA specifically that if you approved a charter school, then you could show them what buildings you had that were underutilized and vacant. And that if you did not approve this charter school, then charter schools approved by the state had no right to have a conversation with you about school buildings. And we were at the point of, I think, 95% cooperation and somebody did not like what we were doing, and so we're in summer study now. And so in my advocacy, just let the committee know that I hope that come this summer, no one has an epiphany and revelation, the skies open, hear a voice from on high and feel like it's good. So it's a balancing act, trying to make sure that we don't harm students, but also that we don't harm teachers, and we don't harm those who are trying their best to close the achievement gap and give our kids opportunity to learn.
Thank you. So we're fortunate to have your voice in the General Assembly. Stephanie Coleman is going to finish this up in terms of the presentation with a few minutes about the role of the Chamber and her work. She's Vice President for Policy at the Chamber, and we have printed materials, and I see the computer's gone to sleep. If we may need to actually hit the laptop up here. Joyce, can you squeeze by between the tables there and just hit the laptop? It's the keyboard on the laptop. It's gone to sleep since we've been sitting here.
I think if you just run your finger over the mouse, it should look up. But if not, we have handouts, so we're good.
Go ahead and begin, and we'll boot it up.
Yeah, if you guys want to just refer to your handouts, I wanted to just give kind of a broad overview of the Chamber, and then one of the questions that was asked was, why are we involved or engaged in education? So kind of our broad overview is that we've been around since 1847. The Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce covers a 10-county area in Middle Tennessee, not just Davidson County. We have over 2,000 members of the Nashville Area Chamber, and our purpose is to facilitate community leadership to create economic prosperity. So kind of the next slide there on your handout, one way that we really kind of break down our mission and our actions is to focus on 4 overarching goals, and this ties in with our P2020 economic development strategy as well. And those include economic diversity, talent development, place and livability, and finally regionalism. So our education efforts really fall under that second category of talent development. And we have actually made education improvement the #1 priority at the Nashville Area Chamber, because we know that an excellent public school system will drive the future prosperity of our city. We also have put a lot of focus into Metro Nashville Public Schools, because we also know that the core of our region is what keeps our region strong. So we know that we have to have a strong education system here in Nashville to benefit both Nashville and the entire region. If you flip to that next slide on page 2, this is really just a broad overview of some of our involvement in education. And I'm going to go through this in a little more detail, but I'll stay brief. Our Education Report Card Committee, this past year was our 20th year that we've actually done the report card. And I'm very pleased to say that Council Lady Sandra Moore has served on that committee for 3 years. And we also have the pleasure of having Fred Carr serve as our liaison with Metro Nashville Public Schools. So I want to thank both of them. And we've actually had, I believe, 6 former committee members go on to serve on the Metro School Board. And we've had 2 serve in council and then 2 in the state legislature. So it's really a great way to kind of build that understanding and leadership capacity in Nashville, kind of that deep dive into Metro Nashville Public Schools and what makes it work. Some other areas of involvement include, we'll just ignore the screen, just focus on your handouts. Other areas of involvement include the Academies of Nashville, which Jay knows a whole lot more about than I do. Friends of Metro Schools, which we're a community coalition partner with that group. One Nashville, and finally Success Pack. So I'm going to talk about each of these briefly individually. The report card, this is our 2012 report card. Most of you all should have a copy of this. If for some reason you don't, I've got extras, so let me know. But this is really a great community resource. And one thing I did want to point out is one of the roles of the Chamber in education is to provide resources to the community, whether it be through the report card, whether it be through other publications, our programming that we do around education. We always videotape our programming and put it on YouTube. So there's ways to kind of tap back into the expertise that we put before the community. And then also our Chamber blog. We have, I think, 4 of us at the Chamber in our policy area have a tie-in with K-12 education improvement, and we all have a blog, so that's another great community resource to see what's going on. Around the report card specifically, we include in the report card every year a look at the previous year's school year. And we do kind of a deep dive into the overall school system performance of that school year. And then we also choose a focus topic each year that's timely and relevant based on what's going on. Last year's was charter schools. We know there's been a lot of conversation in the public about charter schools. And then we also have data in this report card. So we have a lot of student performance data. We also have a public opinion poll in there. We include information about the MNPS organizational structure, for instance. And that's a really thorough process. It's our most time-consuming committee that we have, but it's a great way to bring a community perspective and outside perspective to where Metro Nashville Public Schools is, and then we provide recommendations for improvement. And one thing I just want to say about last year's report is that we really feel that the district is moving in the right direction. We've seen gains on a number of measures across the board. We know Dr. Register has really turned that big ship and is headed in the right direction, and I think we have a lot to be proud of. There's a lot of great things, as you all have mentioned, going on in Metro schools, and part of the Chamber's role is to be a part of that communications effort. So it's not, the onus isn't just on you guys, it's on us as well to share those great stories with the public. But our other role is to kind of be that accountability piece, and we kind of consider it a critical friend, where we also want to help kind of drive that urgency around improvement as well. So that's a great role of the report card. The Academies of Nashville is probably the area where we have the most business involvement on an individual school level. So the Chamber's role in that is we have, and actually since we've got the PowerPoint, oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. Our role in this is kind of those top 2 areas. So the CEO Champions is a group of top-level CEOs that sort of look at the Academies of Nashville model from a very high level and look at whether there need to be any kind of policy or community resource efforts going into that to move it forward. And they actually just had a meeting, I believe yesterday. Dr. Register and Mayor Caldine serve on that CEO Champions group. And then the next level down are 5 partnership councils that the Chamber staffs, these partnership councils. And these partnership councils tie in with each academy and really, again, have that overarching view on the academies and sort of the industry trends and workforce needs, and help guide that from that broad level across the school district. And then you get down into the individual academy partners and the advisory boards for each academy and each academy partner. And that is actually a process run by the Pencil Foundation. So they handle those one-on-one relationships. So that's kind of how the structure works around academies. And I believe we have over 200
275.
275, wow, that number just keeps shooting up. So this is really an area of business engagement in our public schools that is, second to none. I mean, it's a model nationally, and we're really proud of the Chamber's role in that, and proud of the partnership we have with Metro Schools in that effort, because as you guys mentioned earlier, it really has led to specific concrete results for Metro School students. And I'm going to jump over these next few slides. These are just some examples of things around the Academies of Nashville that the Chamber is involved with, but I know we're running short on time, so I'll jump to the slide that just briefly has the Friends of Metro Schools logo there. I wanted to point out, and I mentioned this actually at the public hearing for the budget, that last year the Chamber was part of a coalition, Friends of Metro Schools, that created a funding primer about how our schools are funded. And this is really an important piece for the broader community, because it goes through the process of how the budget is created and, at what point in the process different elected bodies are making decisions, and then lets the community know who they should contact and when. And there's a timeline on the back of this funding primer that lets them know who to contact and when. So it may be the school board at one point in time, it might be Metro Council, then it might be the mayor's office, etc. So great piece. If you all want copies, we have plenty of extra copies if you want to share those with your constituents and let them know it's available. But again, that's another example of a way that we can be helpful in getting that message out of community and business engagement and education. Quickly, One Nashville was a community campaign that was launched in 2010. That was also a broad effort with a lot of different community partners that included MNPS, that included the mayor's office, Alignment Nashville, the Pencil Foundation, Stand for Children, the Nashville Public Education Foundation. This was really the creation of a portal that would be kind of a one-stop shop for anyone interested in getting involved in Metro schools. So if you'll flip to the next slide, well, ignore that. If you look on your handout, you'll see what that homepage looks like. It will direct you to a way to volunteer, which goes to Pencil Foundation, to donate, which goes to the Nashville Public Education Foundation, or to advocate, which goes to Stand for Children. There's also a section for parent resources, which links into MNPS's page for parents. So this is just one kind of easy way to get the community directed to where they need to go to support Metro schools. And then finally, Success PAC is the Chamber's political action committee around school board elections. So we know that the school board elections are staggered every 2 years, and it's a 4-year cycle for each member. And this was a political action committee that was founded in 1998, so it's been around, is that 15 years now? And it's really just an effort to get the best school board members in our schools, in our system, because we know that they make critical policy decisions for our children. So I think one thing that we have seen over the years is really a great school board. The quality of the school board just keeps getting better and better. And we really know that you all have such a passion for education and for the success of our school children. So thank you all for that. And I think that is it for me, so I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you, Cindy. We've got about 10 minutes left, and we want to allow time for members of the council and members specifically to
the committee and the other council members are present also to ask any questions that they would like to ask in terms of follow-up. Again, our theme tonight has been trying to improve communication, and there's been some great information presented, a lot to digest, but I wonder if members of the council want to just jump in and ask any follow-up questions or make any comments about what we've heard.
Any of my colleagues, you all can go first. Councilman Claiborne, or more than welcome.
I'm listening.
Huh?
I'm listening.
You're listening this time? Councilman Stites?
I just want to say thank you. I know it's not an easy job in schools. It's probably the most, probably one of the more difficult parts of governing. So thanks to the school board and to executive staff that makes everything possible. It is our greatest economic development tool that we have, increasing schools and education in Nashville. And it is the great equalizer among economic inequities. And so what you do is financially sustaining our city, but is also in a lot of ways fulfilling the moral obligation that we all feel when we ran for office. So thank you.
Councilman Maynard?
You know, every council person that runs says that education is a priority to them. All of us who ran at large all say that education is our #1 priority. When we then get elected, when we talk about policy decisions, and then some of us have diverse feelings about what's the best way to support our children in education. Given the political environment that we're in right now, and my comment to Dr. Register, to the school board, is that, you know, no matter what I feel about charter schools, they're here. They're here. And given the political environment, they're going to be here. I don't like the way that the community has made charter schools to appear that they are not a public school. I don't like the way certain organizations have painted charter schools that they're not a public school. Charter schools are public schools, and that there are people out there that want to divide this community. They want to pit people against folks, and create a charter school that seems that it is a private school with public dollars. And that is a mistake, and this has caused a lot of problems within our community. I heard the person from the Chamber of Commerce. I do know they said they support the direction the school's going. I've heard from Chamber people who say that it's not going fast enough, that the urgency, that the progression is not going fast enough. And when I talk to many of them, they believe that charter schools is one way of facilitating the progression at a faster rate, that's their opinion. I'm not saying they all speak that way. What I would like to see, from Dr. Register knows I've supported you, I've supported the school, you all know that. I fully support the school. You might fought harder for the schools than me. What I would like to see is a community come together to see that charter schools are public schools first. Number two, they are not alternative schools. The purpose of a charter school is to give a school an opportunity to use innovative ways so that we can take best practices from those charter schools and see if we can implement them into the entire school system. And for those innovative ways that don't work, we can say, try it, it didn't work. But they are part of the public school system, as opposed to us saying from a community perspective that somehow charter schools over here, so I can send my kids over here, as opposed to sending them to a quote-unquote public school. I also would then like to see us working together to embrace all organizations coming together and saying that one organization is not smarter than the other, not better than the other. We all have our opinions. But at the end of the day, the school board has been an elected body to make those decisions and to defer to the school board. I think undermining the school board in our community is undermining our children. You said it again. If I'm elected as a metro council and you consistently talk about us and consistently undermine us, you're undermining the constituents of the city. So as I get off my preacher box, it is my goal to bring the community together to understand charter schools are here to stay, but charter schools are public schools. But the purpose is to take innovative ideas, allow them to incubate them. If they work, great, let's implement them into the entire system. Things that don't work, let's make sure we close them so our children are not injured. But understand they are public schools. They're not private schools with public money, as some people try to treat them. And finally, we've got to support our school board. I'm sick and tired of this undermining our school board in the argument that you're supporting our children. You can't have it both ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Maynard. Councilman Bedley?
Yeah, I just thank you again for setting this up. I'm very, I think the people that are watching this on TV are going to be very happy that they got access to all this information. And one thing that, you know, when we run for office in the council, we are all supporting public schools, but really the only thing we get to do is to vote on the budget, yes or no. I mean, there's really, we don't get to shape how that money is being spent. That falls more into the hands of the school board. So I just wanted to take this opportunity, if you can speak out about it, Board President, and explain the community what opportunities they have to actually come in front of you and petition or try to shape how that budget is being spent.
That's what we have, the public hearing this past week, or this Tuesday. That was an opportunity for the public to come and speak on the budget. And as Chris said, it's been posted on the website since the 4th of March, I think. So looking at that budget that's out there, I would welcome every single parent or teacher or anybody in the community who has a stake in public education to come before the school board and express their concerns or their interests or their kudos to us about how those funds are being spent. Because ultimately it is for every single child, and that will affect every single one of us, regardless of whether you have a child in school or not. That's a lot of funding that we take very seriously, and the people around this table know exactly what they're doing as far as how they're disseminating that budget. We've got to make sure that we get as much input from the public as possible, and that's why those meetings are set up. And I will say one thing, Councilman Maynard made several good points. One of the things that we have said, and we will continue to say, regardless of where our children are being educated, whether it's a charter, traditional, or magnet school, they are all our children. And it is our job. It is their right to have the best education possible. And one thing that I will say about board members that I am so proud to sit next to is that they're all very passionate about what we're doing here, and we're very, very proud of the job that we continue to do. This is a tough job, as you said, and you have to be a little crazy to want to do it on purpose, but it is one of the most rewarding experiences that I think that anybody will ever have.
Thank you.
Dr. Rogers?
I just wanted to say a word of thanks to each of you on behalf of Belmont for giving us the privilege of hosting this, and also a personal word. I'm finishing up my 18th year as the parent of one or more children in Metro Nashville Public Schools, and as a parent, I want to say thank you to everyone here. It's been a great encouragement to me personally to hear the enthusiasm, the energy, the commitment that you all have, and so on behalf of my wife and me and my children, thank you, and all the other parents.
Well, thank you, Dr. Rogers, for moderating this for us, and Belmont as well. You all are always a great host to us next door to District 17, which I do appreciate that so much. And again, I want to thank everyone for attending today, and I hope everyone felt relaxed. And I know Dr. Register had said, Mr. Majors rushed through everything. I didn't want you to rush. I wanted you to be more relaxed. So, and that's what this is all about. And I do appreciate what you said, Ms. Mays, about making sure that we feel comfortable when we do come to a meeting, because as Councilman Maynard alluded to, we always come when constituents call us and we react to what our constituents are saying to us. But most certainly this was about communicating today as an elected body, as we work for Metro, and to know, and let the viewing audience know that there's a lot going on in Metro schools, and I'm quite sure that they need to access whatever schools they need to go to and visit and see what wonderful things are going on. So again, thank you everyone for attending today, and we'll see you all at budget time.